Hey, welcome to the Butterfly Empire. It is me, your Butterfly Queen. And we are here to cover something very, very special. Some of y'all may have heard of it. Some of y'all may have not. And that's okay, because that's why I'm here. I'm here to let you learn all about it. All the little nooks and crannies. And that is okay. So come in and join us on this Butterfly Empire. Here we go. Hello, my lovelies. It is me, your Butterfly Queen, and welcome to the Butterfly Empire. Lovelies, today's episode is about on May 27th, 28th of 1995, about a semi-truck who would barrel through the Tonto National Forest at a high rate of speed before getting stuck in the mud. Many people have encountered with this driver before he suddenly vanished until his skull was discovered 2 years later. And this is the story of Devin Williams. In May of 1995, 29-year-old Devin Eugene Williams held a job as long-distance truck driver, often hauling produce from the Midwest to the West Coast. He was married, father of 3 children, raising a family in America, Kansas. The couple just purchased a new home. We're in the process of making plans for the house as well as our future. Devin's wife would later go on to say that this was the happiest point in their marriage. The spring right before he disappeared. Devin was described as a pleasant and patient man, with her co-workers saying the same, and only times she ever saw him get irritated was when he had to wait for his truck to be loaded, as he was eager to get back home to his family. Memorial Day weekend, 1995. On Sunday, May 28th, in Arizona's Tonto National Forest, the silence that nature provided was suddenly interrupted by the sounds of 10-ton, 18-wheeler semi-truck barreling through a remote forest road. Nearby campers Lynn and Jack Yarrington stated that the road wasn't long enough for an 18-wheeler and that they would only see 4-wheel trucks use the road, and even then, only sparingly. Jack and Lynn claimed that the 18-wheeler continued to drive back and forth on that road at a high rate of speed. For most of the day, only campers had a close call with the semi-truck. Other campers had a close call with that same semi-truck. The 18-wheeler drove right at them, head-on, nearly running them over. The campers were able to reverse in time and get out of the way, but stated that driver of the truck stared straight ahead with no expression on his face, almost as if he was looking right through them, or didn't really recognize anyone was in front of him at all. Later on that day, a group of people having a picnic stumbled on the semi-truck, now stuck in a field. They left their vehicle to speak to the man standing next to the mired truck. One of the men in the group, named Charles Hall, asked the man how he got his truck stuck in the mud. The man replied, "They made me do it." This prompted Charles to ask him what? And the man muttered under his breath, "No, you can't help me out. I'll never get it out of there. I'm going to jail." When Charles heard the man mention jail, he thought something sinister might be going on, such as a carjacking, hostage situation, or kidnapping. Charles stated that he had wondered that there was another person in the cab of the truck, possibly holding a gun on the man. Despite the strange situation, the man made no attempt to ask them for help, nor keep them there with him. Later in the afternoon, a report came into the local deputy, Deputy Wells, about a truck stuck in the heart of the forest. The deputy was confused, like the campers, how such a large truck would end up within the forest at all. When he went to investigate, he discovered the semi-truck in deep mud within a meadow. The meadow was located near Forest Service Road 137 in the Buck Springs area, nearly 20 miles from Highway 87. Once Wild looked inside the truck, he discovered the cargo within, undisturbed and intact. 1,200 boxes of lettuce and strawberries within the refrigeration, still running. No one was near the abandoned vehicle, and the cab was locked. The deputy checked his national crime computer and learned that there was no report submitted for either a missing truck nor a missing truck driver. He stated that when he peered through the window of the cab, that the inside was very clean, and that there was no indication that foul play had taken place. At 4 p.m. the same day, Lynn and Jack Harrington were driving through the forest along Forest Service Road 321 when they came upon a man off the side of the road near the trees. The man was partially kneeling on the ground, staring at a tree. Okay. The man was mumbling to himself, but they weren't able to make out exactly what he was saying. Jack asked the man if he needed any help or assistance, and the man simply said, "I've got to light the grill." The man was holding a $20 bill in his hand and hitting it repeatedly with a rock as if it was the start of fire. What? The couple looked around. He didn't find any evidence of food that he may want to grill. He had nothing else with him at all. The men then threw a rock at the couple's car, and they decided it was time to go, getting in the car and driving away. This was the last confirmed sighting of Devin Williams. The investigation. When no one heard from Devin that day and he was off schedule for his delivery, he was reported missing. Although those who knew him were certain that Devin wasn't the type to abandon his truck, investigators had linked the missing man to the situation in Tonto National Forest. Eyewitnesses were certain the man acting strangely in the woods that day was the same man in the photos that were shown to them, which was Devin Williams. Investigators began to track Devin's movements leading up to his disappearance. They learned that Devin was left his home on May 23rd, heading west. This was a route he took many times. He successfully delivered his haul to California and reloaded his truck for his trip back to Midwest. Devin spoke to his boss, Tom Wilson, that evening. What Tom stated later that evening seemed normal, that Devin was on time and everything was going seemingly well. On Saturday evening, May 27, Devin made his way back to Kingman, Arizona. He phoned his work headquarters for the last time, telling them that he was unable to get any sleep, that he was determined to get back on the road. After this, Devin was meant to arrive in Kansas City, Missouri on Monday morning, but he never made it out of Arizona. Detective Bruce Cornish went on to say that drugs, mental health, nor criminal history were factors in Devin's disappearance. How he came to his determination is unknown, as mental health issues can appear out of the blue or can be hidden from friends and family. He went on to note that it was possible that Devin ran away on his own account, pointing to the fact that his briefcase, ice chest, and sleeping bag were left in the truck, but that his duffel bag and favorite audio tapes were missing. For this to happen, though, the entire episode in the forest on Sunday would have needed to be an act. In the absence of any real evidence, investigators only had theories to work with. A search was conducted for Devin using his foot patrol, search dogs, volunteers, and off-road vehicles. Detective Bruce Cornish went on to say that drugs, mental health, nor criminal history were factors in Devin's disappearance. How he came to this determination is unknown, as mental health issues can appear out of the blue, or can be hidden from friends and family. He went on to note that it was possible that Devin ran away on his own accord, pointing to the fact that his briefcase, ice chest, and sleeping bag were left in the truck, but that his duffel bag and favorite audio tapes were missing. For this to happen, though, the entire episode in the forest on that Saturday would have been needed to be an act. In the absence of any real evidence, investigators only had theories to work with. A search was conducted for Devin using foot patrols, search dogs, volunteers, and off-road vehicles, but all searches came up empty. No scraps of clothing, bone fragments, nor any trace of which direction Devin may have gone were discovered. The deputy involved in the case said that he had conducted many missing person searches, and not one had been conducted where they had not found the person, except Devin's. On May 2, 1997, hikers were walking along the bottom of Mulligal Rim near the intersection Forest Road 321 and Rim Road 300 in Gillett County. In about a quarter of a mile from where Devin has last been seen, this is the area that had already been previously searched for Devin. There, they stumbled upon a human skull. Interrogators would later go on to confirm that with many thoughts the skull belonged to Devin Williams. There was no evidence of foul play on the skull, and no other remains were discovered. They were unable to determine Devin's cause of death based on skull alone, and it is still unknown what exactly happened to him. Many would go on to speculate a few theories, which led to his erratic behavior, a diabetic episode, sleep deprivation, mental health issues, drug use, carbon monoxide poisoning. None of these were theories that have been confirmed, and the mystery of what happened to Devin that day in 1995 still remains. Devin's wife, Mary Lou, still holds on hope in finding out what happened to her husband, but says that hope dismisses with each passing day. Dinner time of Devin's disappearance, but before the discovery of the skull, Mary Lou stated that her children had had a rough time. Some days they would be fine, and other days they would ask her if their dad was ever coming back. She had no clue how to answer them, simply saying that she didn't know. But if he doesn't, he is up there with God. With the discovery of his skull, they were able to find closure in his death, but not the circumstances that led up to it. The family would go on to sue the truck company, but it is unknown what became of this. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 I'm still looking for more information. So the detective in his notes that it's not most missing person case. There are factors in a person's life: criminal history, drug problems, mental illness, but none of the factors applied in this case. There was no evidence of mental illness or drug problems. Detective Corner says he does not know what was wrong with Devin that weekend. However, he knows that there are some people that would want to run away from their responsibilities or have problems with their family that cause them to run away. Devin left his job and his family to start a new life. Was it significant that his briefcase, ice chest, and sleeping bag were left in his truck, but his duffel bag and favorite cassette tapes were gone? If he had run away, he certainly conducted an elaborate cover. His erratic behavior would have been an act, performing for successful and unexpected witnesses. but his wife didn't buy it. Detective Cornish interviewed a woman who often helped Devin whenever he picked up loads in California. She said that only time he ever seemed irritated was when he was, waiting. If Devin did not run off on foot, where was he? There's no suspect. Some investigators speculate that Devin may have been on drugs at the time of the disappearance. However, his family refuses to believe this. His boss also noted that he had passed his drug test. Another theory was that he vanished voluntarily. Basically, he had taken his duffel bag and cassette tapes and left his briefcase behind. His family does not believe that would leave them behind. Some UFO researchers have connected this case to stories also with UFOs in the area. So, hmm. Still unresolved. On May 2nd, 1997, hikers found a skull. You know, dental records confirmed it was his. There was no evidence of trauma to it, though. So many unanswered questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we have so far on this unsolved mystery. Don't know what happened to the man. Nobody knows. Not a dang question. But there you go. There is your story from the trucker's route to hell. Hope you enjoyed.